I need to segue out of tech and address the episode I dropped this week for my show, and that was my my interview with the host of Crossroads from the Epoch Times, Joshua Phillips. And let me see where the comments. There it is. I don't know what's going on with YouTube comments. Sometimes they disappear. Their filters are a little off, so it's a little odd. I'm not gonna last much longer. This I took an allergy pill, but man, let me try to get through this. Okay, so if you guys haven't seen it, we do touch on tech because there's rising tensions as there always has been between Taiwan and China, and now it's getting even more so. And I am resolute and absolute in that Taiwan is an independent sovereign state. And I do not say that tongue in cheek. I mean it and I believe it, and so do the Taiwanese. The ones that disagree are the Chinese nationals. Now, I want to preface something here. This is going to sound very political to a lot of you that are tuning in, and that's okay. Because I need to preface this because I have fundamental disagreements with the commenter. However, I am so appreciative of this commenter taking the time to make some of the best arguments I have heard from that other side in the viewpoints with the Taiwan and Chinese conflict. So, if you guys haven't tuned into it, by all means, go check it out. It's up across everything. I had Joshua Phillips, the host of Crossroads, over on the Epoch Times. He and I had met before, like 2 months ago. He was giving a speech in Southern California, and I was invited by Epoch Times. Hey, you should meet him. So we got to meet. We got to talking before and then after the fact, and it was a great time. And I'm like, you know what? Because he made the best comment because I'm married to a Taiwanese. That's why I'm close to all this, and I love tech, and I just see like, dude, almost everything comes from Taiwan. We're gonna be manufacturing chips here in the near future, or en masse in the near future. But will it be enough? I don't know. But Unplug seems to think so because they're intending to build in the USA the next gen phones. Will it be the same price though? We'll have to see about that. Well, anyway, so to that effect, I've always been interested in foreign relations and all this and that, but this particular thing with Taiwan and China has flown under the radar. I feel for many of our leaders, the old guard. When I mean the old guard, I mean the more senior generation, like those of my parents and all of them. They still live in the whole it's the Russians, they're the enemies, and all this. And the same Democrats that told us that the Russians being the enemy was old foreign policy, like the grandfathers of the parents' foreign policy. They're the ones telling you that Russia is the big bad simply because they wanted Trump to look bad, knowing that the Russia thing is a hoax. Okay, so that is a hoax, has been a hoax. For those of us that are in the know, we knew that was a hoax, and now we have more proof positive that is the case. So it's really made things difficult to have an impartial discussion on anything, particularly when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. I take no sides in that war. I say I don't want us involved at any level in that war. But to the old guard, if I am not supporting Ukraine at any means possible, I must be a Putin stooge. Like, what the hell? How did you go from that inferential leap? But that's what brainwashing does with the propaganda on the media. Okay, so to that effect, a lot of us are distracted by a lot of the stuff happening in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Some things that do literally do not affect us unless they're dragging us into these conflicts. Okay, but one such conflict that is brewing that has consequences for the absolute whole world, and we have understanding with the region that we would get involved is with Taiwan. What China intends to do, they've talked about it for a long, long time. So for a lot of Taiwanese natives, to them, China is all talk. So for now, Taiwanese to wake up to the fact that, hey, this is real. It's almost game time. It's like people are finally waking up. Yeah, I told you. But the problem is that in the past 15 years, Taiwan, the government, and tune into my episode with Joshua Phillips and you get a more contextual understanding of the history of the conflict and where it could be going. And who knows, maybe there is a way to make a buffer in case this does happen, that China wants to get the chips, but may not be able to get it. Because I make the argument that in today's day and age, with how fast technology is developing and how important chipsets are to AI, and that's everybody that's getting into this thing, then Taiwan is as close to a natural resource as it gets with all the knowledge of the chipsets, because at any given point in time, 80% of the world's chips come from them. Why? I don't know, but we have Taiwanese engineers teaching Americans to be able to do it here. A Taiwan Semiconductor Company is, I believe, in Phoenix, Arizona, or with their their factory to start building, or they are building, but when will they get to reach a peak where they're able to produce in mass reliable chips to be able to get them into the U.S. market, and then being able to ship out to the rest of the world? I don't know, but better late than never, honestly. So to that, to all that, there's an understanding that certain countries in the Indo-Pacific region are meant to come to Taiwan's defense. It was like a treaty, or understood treaty, that's United States is one of them, Australia being another, possibly South Korea, Japan, and others, maybe even the Philippines. The Philippines and the United States are kind of like brothers in this case, where it's like you go, I go, bro, we go. That's kind of how it is. But just a week or two ago, Pete Hegseth, or the U.S. Defense Department, was asking the Indo-Pacific allies what their commitment is to the defense of Taiwan. And as I understood it, Australia said pretty much that they're not, and Japan and South Korea are technically in, but Japan's like, but it's really on Taiwan. So as of this morning, very early this morning, let me read this out to you guys. This was Visgard, I believe, was the one that reported it. Visgard put up Taiwan to massively hike 2026 defense budget to $31.3 billion. Taiwan announces a 23% surge in defense spending for 2026, reaching 31.3 billion for the first time, above 3.32 of GDP since 2009, driven by Chinese threats and US calls. The budget now includes for all these other things. Everybody's understanding that it's getting really, really tense out there. So I put out my video, which I think came at the right time. And a commenter put up on the video, and I noticed when they were making the comments, they made two comments, and I'll read the kind of the latter one, and I'll come back to the first one, because this is kind of criticism against me. Well, they're both criticism against me and Josh. So I really wish these two guys. This is from I think I'm pronouncing it right. King Zhao 9983. I really wish these two guys could convince U.S. government with their view that China is so bad that it's going to collapse soon. Then they will, by their ignorance, really contribute to the world peace. Even the Chinese people will thank them, even though they are biased against China. What he's referring to is that in the conversation we talk about how the Chinese economy, not only is it a Ponzi scheme, it's based on a lot of lies by the CCP. That is a given. But the thing is, the world view from the Chinese nationals, they're shielded from all that. So when I tell you that I have Taiwanese family that are confronted by Chinese Americans here and told that no, they are Chinese, and they get into these arguments, it can get pretty ugly. A family member of mine went to the pharmacy, and somehow Chinese Taiwan got brought up, and the guy behind the counter was apparently from the mainland China, and he just turned red and said, "No, Taiwan is China, and it belongs to China," and this and that. Like my family member was like, "I'm just here to pick up the medicine, man." It's just so these things can get very testy. So I wasn't surprised to see someone criticizing me for my statement that I made that Taiwan is an independent and sovereign nation. Because I did some research, and I knew it was going to be like this. I have Taiwanese family, okay? I'm married into it. I know how they think, how they express themselves from the mainland to the ones that are here too. But then when you check the sources here with big tech and all that, that includes X, by the way, because Elon's very friendly with China. And I bring that up in that conversation. Check it out. So I have my concerns about when I ask Grok, for example. It's like, when did Taiwan declare its independence? And they said, well, technically they didn't. There's no formal thing and all this and that. Like, well, that kind of gives point to The commenter. This was the original comment that this commenter made. And keep in mind that I actually appreciate this. I never heard someone put it like this together. The commenter wrote, "What a joke. Can you find a country called Taiwan since World War II? Any valid proof, like formal international document or agreement? On what ground could you claim Taiwan is and has been an independent sovereign country? Taiwan issue is an unfinished Chinese Civil War since 1949. There is a government called Republic of China ruling Taiwan since 1949. You need to get that straight. I am okay if you are supporting Taiwan becomes independence, but please do not lie. This will only destroy your credibility." Now, this individual, I'm assuming this is the first time they see me talk about anything Taiwan Chinese related. For anybody that follow me long enough, you will know that I talk about this almost on the daily, especially if you're on Instagram, because I cover my Instagram stories. I do news and commentaries. You can check it out there. So I say I don't play favorites, but my biggest audience and engaged audience is on Instagram, and I'm mostly on the stories. But when I saw that, I'm like, these are actually really good points. I never saw someone put them all together because, yes, I am aware of this. To which I responded, "Thank you for watching. Taiwan operates as a self-governing democracy with its own government, military, and economy, effectively functioning as independent. And you are correct in that it operates under the framework of the Republic of China, because technically they are the ROC. They're just not the People's Republic of China. My point is that it has not and never has been ruled by the Chinese Communist Party." So to that end is to say that the CCP says they want to reunify China. Like, reunify. You never ruled Taiwan. You never have. So back to the point that he was making, though, where he said the Taiwan issue is an unfinished Chinese Civil War since 1949. I'm so glad that this individual put that out there, because I showed these comments to my wife, and that really ruffled some feathers. Like, what? How? Why would they say that? And I knew that it would ruffle her feathers because the Taiwanese do not see it that way. It's like, doesn't it take two to tango to be in a war? One side is adamant that we got to finish this fight. We're going to take Taiwan because it belongs to us. And then Taiwanese are like, hey, we have commerce together. Why do you need to come over here? And that's just it. The Taiwanese don't see themselves at war with China. They see themselves as neighboring countries. And there's a lot more to this too, because I was in Taiwan for the 100th year celebration of Taiwan. Taiwan. That's how I know, because I was there and I didn't know I was there for that. That was in 2012. Taiwan itself, as the Taiwanese know it, was born in 1912. Then the Japanese came along and whatever, all these other things, because that region, just like the Middle East and Europe and all that, war's been happening for the longest time. But therein comes the point that we have a differing worldview. So I appreciate the next comment, and that was the last comment that this individual made. His name is King Zhao. I think I said that right. 9983. Responded to my comment by saying, "You are right that the CCP and the People's Republic of China never ruled Taiwan. Because this is an unfinished Chinese Civil War. The importance of this fact is for anyone who supports Taiwan to really understand the determination of the CCP, the PRC, for its unification. PRC is willing and preparing to fight with U.S. Navy for the unification of Taiwan, just like the Korean War. Anyone who discusses Taiwan issue has the responsibility to make the danger of war clear. Otherwise, she is driving Taiwan towards a disaster worse than Ukraine without informing them." And I agree with the conclusion. I disagree with the premise. China has CCP has no right to that territory. They just, in their mind, believe that they do. Hence, they want to pull through what they said. So, is it true that Xi Jinping told Trump that, hey, I promise you that won't invade during your tenure? I don't believe that. Sorry, Trump, I don't believe that at all. It's like, and if they did promise that, it means nothing. Their promises mean nothing. Just like them signing climate accords means nothing. They're the worst polluters and the worst violators of human rights in the world by far. By far. Human rights violations too. I think that's what I said, right? But anyway, I appreciate you, King Zhao, for your contributions to this, because while I have fundamental disagreements in our worldview here, because I do not view that this is a civil war that's still going on. It's just been on hold for like 70, 80 years. No, I don't believe that in the slightest. But the important part is that the CCP believes it. And that is through their propaganda, what they're trying to teach the people. And I want to be very clear, because this is something that in one of your other harsher comments you put, where is it? Right here. Even though they are biased against China, I want to be very clear. I want to see the Chinese Communist Party fail. I want to see them gone. The Chinese people are subjugated to a tyranny, authoritative, dictatorship government where you cannot freely think, feel, or express yourself. The people that live there live under a social credit system. And anything and everything of this can be taken away if you do not fall in line with the government and their policies. Look at what they're doing to the Uyghurs. Look at what they do to the Christians in the underground churches. The biggest Christian church in the world is in China, and it's underground. There is no freedom in China. And with all these propagandists on social media pulling like, look how forward China is. Look, I don't question their engineering. They can be really, really good, but let's not kid ourselves. Because of a lot of cost cuttings and shortcuts, there's a lot of faulty building over there too. That's why some buildings just collapse. There's cities out there built and nobody lives in them. There are airports to nowhere, roads to nowhere. China is a very big landmass. And about half of the country lives in advert poverty. And we're talking about 2 billion people, and 1 billion people live in poverty, starvation. That's communism. There is no common. You go to Shanghai, you go to Beijing, you'll see these beautiful cities. Now, is that the same for everywhere else in China? No, it's not. Not in the slightest. And I thought communism was about being common or all of them being equal. So why is there no equality over there? So our disagreements stem from a fundamental different worldview, but the conclusion is the same. I agree 100% with what you just said about the war drums here. And that's the point that I made at the beginning of the video. Thank you very much for everybody to watch this. I might clip this out just to be on its own. This whole thing about the discussion in China, because I believe it's important, and it serves as an epilogue to my episode that I just did recently with my guest Joshua Phillips. So if you haven't, Joshua Philipp, if you haven't seen it, go check it out, please.